Is the way you walk contributing to your anterior pelvic tilt? Hey guys, welcome back. This is Growing Healthy, the channel where we explore self-improvement through movement. Now, I know a lot of people think nothing is wrong with the way that they walk. I see it in the comments. We walk perfectly fine. But if you found yourself searching YouTube for symptoms like back pain, anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, or psoas weakness, tightness, then you aren't fine. I'm gonna show you how a change in your gait cycle can help you alleviate those symptoms. When you're heel strike, the foot leans forward, and what you'll find is that if you were to forefoot strike, you would then lift your leg and then land. Now, this might look minor, but if you've tried it, there is a world of difference between those two strategies. One in which you're landing the lateral side of the sole, and one where you're landing on the heel. Now, normally I talk about the effects on the foot itself, but in this video, I'm gonna explain how this affects our hips and any problems in our knees. We have a heel strike in which we are lazily pushing the foot forward. And then we have a forefoot strike in which we're landing, not only softer, but below the hips. All exercises are pull exercises. Just think of that. In this case of walking, we are trying to pull or contract the glutes to then get that momentum to go forward. And then we use gravity to then touch down on the front foot, right? And usually we're doing this on the heel. The heel will strike first. Not only do we not get a full range of motion of the glutes, because that would be this. That would be a full contraction. So we never actually get the full contraction of the glutes. It's just a partial range of motion that we have practiced for 20,000 steps a day. It adds up because now you're limited in this range of motion that you've developed. This is your comfort zone. If you were to forefoot strike and you press off and look where the glute is, look how much of a contraction you've developed on the glute now, because now you're extending. And so the pull is much greater and you're going through a full range of motion. You are developing a pattern also because of your shoes of reaching forward. This reaching forward in a tight hip with a tight psoas and low control of the abdominal region then starts to overreach. And you'll see what this looks like. Posterior pelvic tilt on one side, doesn't it? And that's what you're creating with every step, especially when you attempt to walk faster. Now, as opposed to going in a forefoot manner, you're reaching forward, and you'll notice that because you have to lift, because you have to engage the psoas, your lower abdomen, your core is braced. Now you're using more musculature, more of your body to actually do the movement, balancing the load, and also giving a chance for these muscles to actually get a chance to exercise themselves, to be useful. What you're finding is that when you have pain in your low back, in your psoas, tightness, anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, it is because your body is not having a daily practice of these movements. But here it is, walking, you can engage in using your total body musculature with every step. And if you're starting at just walking to build up your health, to build your fitness, then this manner will allow you to use your total body in which you can practice every day, every step. So it's a lot more beneficial to you health-wise and fitness-wise in the long run, as opposed to just getting by. Anterior pelvic tilt and posterior pelvic tilt are a sign of weakness or atrophied muscles. Anterior pelvic tilt is when it will lean forward and the back is tight and up. Now, your lack of abdominal control is because you're walking like this all the time. And if you were to incorporate lifting the leg, you see, I can't even maintain it even in my demonstration. I cannot maintain this jutted anterior pelvic position without kind of balancing myself out once I start to raise my knee. In fact, if you're at home right now and you think that the way that you walk is great and beneficial for you, how long can you hold your knee up? How high can your knee up? go up. This ability is primarily from the psoas muscle. So if you aren't able to lift your knee all the way up here, then you are probably missing a range of motion somehow. How long can you hold it? Even if you can raise it, how long can you hold it for? When you practice walking in a forefoot manner, this develops because, yes, it may look like a shallow step now because I'm staying within the constraints of this camera. But if you start to increase your speed, then the angle increases. Then you hike your knee higher. Then you're starting to see the benefit. Then you can easily transition to sprinting. And once you can sprint without pain, there's no one who can tell you that you are not at a high level of fitness. And if you can start by incorporating a movement pattern that will be beneficial to you, increasing your ability, getting you closer to that ability to sprint, and that would be the most beneficial. So along with that anterior pelvic tilt, distended belly, this is how their posture looks. And so you know something is wrong. They are unable to lift their feet. That's why people say it's such a struggle, because it's not the fact that you're landing on the forefoot. That's not the problem. The problem is that you have to actually lift this, and people are having a hard time lifting because they don't have the hip flexor strength. And that's what you'll find is the difference between people who are flexible or people who have better hip strength, is that they are able to get into a full forward fold, not because they're stretching their glutes, it's because they have hip flexor strength. And that's why they're able to then engage their hip flexors to then drop forward. Your back pain is a symptom of the lack of strength that you have in the reciprocal portion or the reciprocal muscle group. Because now you're using your back to lower yourself, your back muscles to lower and to raise yourself. So you're overworking them. You're sitting down all day. I mean, this position looks familiar, doesn't it? Right? And so you haven't developed any of this. So what happens? You roll forward at the hips because this is just hanging out. Belly's just hanging out while you sit. And trust me, a lot of your pain will disappear once you start using your hip flexors. Through this manner of walking, you can do it every day. So you don't have to remember how many reps, how many sets. It's just the form. Keep the form and it will work itself out. As for the posterior pelvic tilt, it's the same thing. Lax glutes, you probably sit back in your seat. This is distended, but you still use your back for picking things up. And you roll up, roll down, trying to squeeze the butt together to raise and to lower. That again is a dysfunctional pattern. I mean, you have to be able to see it now. This is your pain in your back, your lack of psoas tone, strength, tightness, is because you are unable to lift your knees. You can look at your anatomy illustrations. This is exactly what the psoas does. It lifts the knee. If you are doing something for 10,000 to 20,000 times per day and it doesn't incorporate something as vital as lifting the knee, then what are you actually patterning? What are you programming into your life? Pain. Health of your back, your hips, your psoas, your hip flexors. It depends on the manner in which you walk. And if you're suffering with pain, this is the video for you. 10,000 plus steps. If you're doing that in the right manner, you will, with every step, be developing a better and functional body. All right, guys, this has been Grown and Healthy, the channel where we explore self-improvement through movement. Thanks for watching.